In 2005, I joined Cognizant. And after about maybe 7, 8 months, Lakshmi Narayan, who was the CEO of Cognizant at the time, came to Hyderabad. And my Hyderabad center head, who was also my boss's boss, asked me if I would love to have a one-on-one with Lakshmi. I was like, wow, Shankar, why? He said, oh, because some of the new managers, I want them to have a chat with him and I want him to see the kind of caliber we've got. So I'm all pumped up, I'm all excited. But at the same time, there is this butterfly in my stomach because, hey, how many people here have a real issue in talking to senior people? We think they're descended from some kind of a different deity, and so exactly the same thing. So my stomach just does a flip flop. I'm like, I'm a manager, man, and he's a CEO, big guy, and I have to have level of abstraction. I have to have really confident. I have to ask amazing question, look into his eyes, and do really a good job. And, the feeling inside was that I don't belong in that room. I don't belong there. So anyway, I prepare. I talk to my wife and I'm like, what should I do? I'm like talking to the CEO of Cognizant, like literally nodding my head, CEO of Cognizant, and I asked some of my friends back then from Microsoft days. I even gave a call to my ex-boss in Microsoft. He didn't pick up. I still remember, pretty bummed about that. But I was like, just go and do it. And I said, okay, I'm going to prepare a question. And I prepare a very amazingly fantastic question where all my MBA's entire knowledge and the history of, the world went into that question. Unfortunately, we didn't have the chat GPTs and cloud in those days. So I had to do it myself. So I prepared this amazing question about the strategy that Cognizant will have across these XYZ geographies. So as I'm walking in, the voices in my hand is, who are you, Kapil? This guy is a big person. Who are you? You don't even belong to that room. So the fear, the confidence, and all of it is just, everything is like fear is up, confidence is down. And I'm trying to tap into that ounce of confidence. I'm trying to remember the good things that I've done. I'm trying everything and it's not working. So even there, I have to go because now I'm walking in. I'm in the room. I still remember it was a long conference room and he's sitting in that corner of the room. And and I was just walking in, I'm saying, hello, sir, I'm Kapil. And hello, sir, like very humble. So anyway, I go in and I do that and I sit down and I'm trying to be like looking into his eyes and all of it, but there's just no confidence. And he looks at me and says, and obviously it was about him, very humble man, a lot of humility. He says, so tell me about yourself. And I say about myself. And I was prepared for it, by the way, because I know that I have to present. So I knew I don't have to talk too much there. So I just say that I speak about my family and those kind of things and what is keeping me going in Cognizant, how the life has been here. So as I say that, just in middle of it, he nods. I still remember that moment, he nods. And it was not a nod of a person who's waiting for me to complete. It was not of a person who's understanding what I'm saying. And I suddenly feel the surge of confidence inside me. And I stumbled on the first secret, which is you don't have confidence. You take tiny little actions to start gaining confidence. Confidence is an outcome of something that you do. It is work in progress. It's a result. And a lot of people are waiting to be, when I'm ready, then I'm going to do this. Or whatever this means, then I'll be applying for that higher level job. Then I'll be getting into a negotiation. When I'm ready, that's when I'll do this program. When I'm ready, that's when I'll do it. And what they're doing is they're actually caught up in this loop of being ready before they do this. What they don't realize is that readiness arrives during the journey, not before. And that is why every single person who has achieved any kind of greatness has done it, or greatness, their version of greatness, or any kind of a big accomplishment has done it during the process. They had a vision, but they didn't have an exact detailed plan. And what it does is it gives people a false hope that somehow, somewhere I will be ready because I'm thinking about it. They're actually getting satisfaction from the thinking process, but not from the outcome. And then years later, they're still the same, not confident, still having issue with talking to senior people. I still freeze in front of these guys. And what happens is the promotion conversation that they could have had doesn't happen. The business they want to start doesn't happen. The salary negotiation that could happen doesn't happen. I still remember this person who was in the same role for 6 years, and for 3 years, he was looking at getting promoted. He was preparing, he was planning, he was structuring, doing good job, being visible, doing all of those kind of things, but still not getting promotion. And all that happened, all the change was, I still remember, Friday we had a conversation. Monday he talks to his manager with the approach that we discussed. Wednesday he's given an out of turn promotion letter. And it's not that he threatened that if you don't do this, I'm going to quit. None of that. It was very cohesive, compressive, like collaborative process. So what people don't realize is that the thing that you want to do are not going to just happen just because you have prepared better. It's like, or when you're more confident, things that you want to do, you will gain confidence when you're going through the process. Confidence is an outcome. Do not forget that. And let me use an analogy. Confidence is not a fuel that starts an engine running. Confidence is the heat that comes when the engine is running. And here is what I want you to do. Count very honestly, how many times did you say yes to something that scared you? That presentation you have to give, that coaching program that you joined, that conversation you have had, the negotiation that you did, the job application that you did. You did it in spite of the butterfly in the stomach. It was scary, but you did it. Count the number of times you've done it, and I can tell you your growth is going to be directly proportional to how many times you say yes to that kind of a thing. If it's a small number, you have a small year. If it's a bigger number, you have a bigger year. When I work with people, I'm always looking at finding people who are like me with a dash of craziness, but a vision of life where they want to be amazing. And we reach a point in the conversation when it's time for them to take the different road. And just too many people get into this loop of once I'm ready, then I will. Once I have 6 packs, then I'll start exercising. Once I have better relationship, then I will love more. Once I'm there in the job, then I will perform. And you know what? Years later, they still stay caught up. And by the way, if you're one of those people who have been part of our tribe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly the fear that you moved past and did the journey with us. You know exactly how uncomfortable it was to actually spend money on yourself, not on your education, not on basically getting a certificate, but on yourself as a person. And you know what happened in your life. And for those of you who have had a conversation in the past or anybody in my team, you know what happened. You probably are in a similar place where you are at. Maybe you've grown a bit, and maybe one of you might be an exception and say, no, things still worked out fine. And you have to ask a question to yourself. It's not something I can answer. That, hey, am I becoming self-satisfied and setting the bar too low? Instead of having a bar that high. So the core message that I want to pass today is that your confidence, where you want to get to, is going to come from the actions that you take. So no matter how difficult a conversation is, put yourself into it, be fully present, look at contribution, and the confidence will just come off like the heat of the engine that is running. And remember it, courage compounds slowly. Everything big is created in micro little steps. So here is what I want you to do after this. Stop wanting to feel ready. Remember that feeling comes after you've taken the action. You say yes, you walk in the room with your heart thumping wildly in your chest, and maybe you do badly first, but somewhere in the middle of it, confidence just quietly arrives, sits next to you, and holds your hand throughout the entire conversation. Every single confident person you know, they have just jumped more. They have said yes to that uncomfortable feeling. They are doing it in spite of the fear and the scarcity and being scared of their wits. That is the whole secret. That's all there is to it about confidence game. So jump into the water first. Confidence is waiting for you at the bottom. Murder the mediocrity.